Okay, so this is our psychology presentation. This is Aubrey Sluter talking, and I kind of took on the responsibility of the audio and just presenting the project, but we all definitely made some contributions, but our project is also by Amber Chambers, Christina Reed, and Matthew Dietzler. I hope I'm saying that correct. If not, forgive me. But we decided to do our project on seeking employment in corporate America. And so this presentation will act kind of as a guide into how to discover the right professional path, how to go into interviews confident and with some good tips on how to come out of the interview feeling confident in how it went. And also, this will be about maintaining a successful career. So we chose this topic because, well, first of all, jobs are a really hot topic today. Just looking at the news, you can see that people are very concerned about employment, and rightly so, because it's the basis for everyone's life. It's where you spend the majority of your life is in your career. So we thought it was important to kind of give some tips and some suggestions to various groups of people that could be involved in this presentation. But we just wanted to see, like, what could we do to make the job search easier and the job process, and kind of just some psychological points to go that, and we'll go over that. But also, like I said, a person, spends the majority of their time in their career, so it's a big deal. It's something you should prepare for the best that you can. And also, just looking at corporate America, the business realm in general is very competitive for jobs. And that goes to say that many other realms of jobs are competitive to get into. Just some stats on that, because I thought they're pretty interesting. On average, every corporate job opening attracts 250 resumes, and only 4 to 6 get interviews. So you can see the pressure and the stress that it could kind of impose on somebody, because you want to bring about your best self, but you also, really need a job for whatever reason. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. It was probably a good way to start out this presentation. But just to kind of put it into context, probably the people that we would be presenting this to would mostly probably be some young applicants, high school, college students, maybe wanting to start a new job or apply for some, or going into interviews. So that would probably be the main group that we'd present this to. But also just more young applicants seeking a job. So this could probably be administered from like an HR department somewhere that specializes in helping people get jobs, or maybe just it could be a public seminar for people interested in making their interview skills better, or wanting to know what they can do to maintain their dignity and who they are, but also get the job that really suits them. But also another group that this could be applicable to is older folks who maybe desire to get back into the working field. And that's something we kind of talked about in our class, our psychology class this past month. Just kind of looking at Erikson's stages of psychosocial development, the last stage, the 7th stage, generativity versus stagnation, which is for folks who are in that older age group, 40 to 65 years. One of the things we talked about in that stage is kind of looking back at your life and realizing if you've really made an impact, if you've done the things that you wanted to do. And many folks in this context might look back and say, hey, I never got that job I wanted. I never did that occupation I really wanted to do. Maybe I should do that. So this presentation would be applicable to them because maybe they need some insight into, the modern world of employment. So there's many groups that this could be presented to, but I think it's an important concept for a lot of folks. And just before I continue, I just wanted to say that This is one of probably 2 videos. The software I'm using doesn't cover anything past 15 minutes, so I'm going to have to split the presentation up into 2 videos. But it's still all the same presentation, so I just want to make you aware of that before I continued. But going on with the presentation, just some first questions to consider when you are applying for a job or if you're seeking employment. I think it's important to realize first that when you're seeking employment, making the right decision isn't so simple. It's really hard to know what job best suits you, but there's a few things that you can do to strengthen your confidence in the talents and the aptitudes that you have. But you really want to consider what are you expecting from work? What do you want to get out of it? Is it money? Is it benefits? Is it just to take care of your family? Is it to have a satisfying job? Is it to help people? There's so much you can expect from work. So it's important to consider what you want, not just what employers want. But you also want to consider what type of employment do you think you'll like. It's very common today in the employment field that people who go to their jobs always say, just working because I have to live, or whatever it might be. People don't usually have a job that really satisfies them, so it's important to consider that you want a job where you can go every day and be just happy with the work that you do. So that kind of goes with the next question. Is the work going to be something you'll enjoy? Is it something you'll be happy to get up and do every day? Because again, you're spending most of your life in your career, and you have to consider your satisfaction as an individual with your job. So also you want to consider, will the work agree with the type of degree you have or that you're obtaining? So does the job you're wanting, what are the considerations they want for education, or just the degree that you're seeking after? Does it suit the job that you're going for? You also want to consider your motivations. Is the work going to motivate me? What pushes me to be within this career, and what makes me want to work every day? You also want to consider, is this job going to last for a long time, or is it a stepping stone? So in the context of presenting this to high school students or college students especially, they're looking at the next 50 years of their lives, so they have to really consider, is this a job that I'm wanting to really stay in, a career field that I want to be in forever, or is it just a stepping stone to get to the next part of life? So that's important too, because it affects your motivations when you go to work. But lastly, you want to consider, will this employment take care of my needs? So again, that goes back to motivations. What are the needs of my family? What benefits do I need? What satisfactions do I need? And why am I wanting this job? So moving on, kind of going back again to the idea of motivations. What factors are included in finding work, which is something you have to consider, but motivations are really what's going to push you in your career, what's going to keep you going on a day-to-day basis in your employment. So you want to consider your motivation and then the achievement you're trying to obtain. You want to make sure you have the energy and persistence to pursue your goal. So if you're, potentially applying for a job that you're not really sure about the energy of the environment. So for me, I really am a hands-on person. I like to work with my hands. So right now I'm interning in an HR department, which is great experience, but I know for sure in the future that's not where I want to stay, because I can't sit in a cubicle and look at a computer all day, where some people are able to do that, and they're very talented in what they do technologically and stuff like that. But for me, it doesn't suit me because it's not part of who I am, or kind of the talents I have, or just my attention. It's not enough energy for me, the environment. So those are just as an example of how the energy and what's going to keep you persisting in your career. Those are things that you have to consider before you apply for a job. Just looking at attitude, you need to consider, what have you learned from your parents about working? So when I think about this, I think about those families that have a family business, and it's run through the family, and they're asking their kids, one day you can take on this business and stuff, even though the child may not really have an interest in that business or keeping it going after the parents have moved on. So you have to kind of consider those influences. Have your parents influenced work? Have they changed your attitude towards work? If you had parents who both of them went to their jobs every day, and just it was obvious as a child when they came home they hated it, they were tired, that really would affect the way you would approach work as you grew older. So that kind of goes back to the psychological realm also. What influences have changed the person you are? What precedent have parents set in a child's life that with growth the child has seen and has psychologically recorded and kind of is putting into their own life because of that. So you just have to consider those influences when you're choosing a job. What kind of alters your path and your thinking towards work? So that kind of goes with the next concern, kind of in the realm of attitude. What have I learned from my culture? What does culture say about employment? Like I said before, in the news you can see employment's, a really competitive, really hard-going field. Like you better make preparations and go after lots of jobs. So kind of the culture when it comes to employment and jobs is you better, get on it or you're not going to get the job you want. So you have to kind of consider those influences and not let them affect what's right in your life and the talents that are going to lead you to the right career. So you have to consider those motivations and attitudes that have been influenced by the sources around you. And like I said about abilities and aptitude, there's lots of ways that you can go about being aware of what you're best at. So this could be through the test we took at the beginning of our psychology class at the beginning of the month, the Kolb Learning Style Inventory. I found out I was a diverging style. So with that in mind, that says that I am best at viewing concrete situations. So knowing that, I could work on maybe the style that I'm not so good at. So I could be kind of a more well-rounded person who's interested in growth. That's the kind of thing that will help you become aware of who you are and what careers, therefore, would best suit you. But you also have to consider, do you have the required degree or certifications within those abilities? Have you taken any aptitude tests? Like I said, there's lots of resources that'll help you know what's best for you. So I'm going to stop right here because my time for the first video is about out, but I will continue right here.